In how many different worlds we live, we human beings. How many different cultures, how many languages, how many different points of view we accept as self-evident, merely because to us they are familiar. Each civilization radiates its own beliefs proudly into the infinite darkness. Each imagines itself mankind's last word, time's signature to the hopes of ages. Yet there are truths that never change, no matter how men clothe them outwardly, truths that are forever simple, aspirations that touch all hearts. Peace of mind, of soul, liberation from delusive dreams, from false ambition, which promises so much yet delivers nothing. In our changeless longings, we bridge varied cultures of ages. In our longing for immortality, in our longing to understand, in soul aspirations above all, mankind has found that link which unites him with others, with all life, and with God. In this slideshow, I shall attempt to show that the worlds we live in are different less for exotic than for familiar reasons, less for the dissimilar clothes we wear, the customs we adopt, the languages we speak, and the bodies into which we are born, than for the states of mind we inwardly choose for ourselves. I hope, as we now span the globe pictorially, to show that whatever private world a person lives in, he can change it for a better one, should he ever choose to do so. God sleeps in the rocks, dreams in the plants and flowers, and in the animals he stirs toward wakefulness. How long the journey life makes through the myriad stages of upward evolution before it reaches at last man's level of intelligent self-awareness. It is for mankind to reach out toward ever higher stages of awareness, but the world, alas, as the poet Wordsworth said, is too much with us. Passing through childhood, youth, and old age, our minds get caught up in the urgency of the moment, as I was here, and here with my younger brother. We turn our backs on the larger realities. Childhood's ambition is to play, like this child in Merano, Italy, to enjoy a life without cares, like these girls in a simple Mexican village. For children, even being adults seems just a game. Then, with adolescence, one's definition of fun changes. Like this young couple on a Mexican beach, and these boys nearby looking at the girls, and these high school students hoping they'll be noticed. With old age too often comes pain, the fading pleasures of gossip. Nostalgia and broken dreams. Life needn't end in disappointment. Rightly lived, there is dignity in old age, a sense of fulfillment, of accomplishment. In primitive peoples, often more so than in those who claim to be civilized, we see this dignity affirmed in old age, as in this Australian Aborigine. In many people, alas, the downhill road toward pain and disillusionment begins early, with self-separation from life, and with loneliness. Loneliness grows in us too by the pains we hold in our hearts, the memory, for example, of the death of a loved one. We can be lonely in a crowd, more so than when we are physically alone. Or we may have loneliness forced upon us, as with this Catholic nun in communist Romania. Whatever our race or nationality, the human condition doesn't really change much from place to place or from time to time. Outwardly, however, how varied we seem. Who that you know bears any overt resemblance to this guide at the Egyptian pyramids, to this poor girl in Hazaribagh, India, to these simple aborigines in Bihar? People achieve a measure of self-definition as they grow older, but aren't children more or less the same everywhere? And isn't a mother's pride in her family the same, whether at the Shwedagon Pagoda in Rangoon or in the average home in America? Competence and intelligence are as evident in one race as in another. Suspicion of strangers, such as we see in this shepherd near Brasov, Romania, is common to people everywhere. Fear, too, such as that shown by this old lawyer after years in a communist prison, is a universal emotion. People all over the world can relate to the joy expressed in this simple village wedding in Romania. An intense desire to communicate through the spoken word, as seen in this Salzburg restaurant, is common the world over. When a person has no one to speak to, he writes out his ideas. People everywhere want the joy of a healthy body. There's something in these French eyes that makes words unnecessary. And consider this lady. Though very Parisian, doesn't it seem almost as though we knew her? The love of clarity and order is not uniquely a Swiss trait. And the sweetness of old women who have lived good lives is appreciated everywhere. Calm nobility, as in this American lady in Sedona, Arizona, is as evident in the New World as in the Old. As evident as, for example, in this Neapolitan Marchesa. Nobility of features, as in the case of this Italian woman in Capri, can be found in every stratum of society. So also the ability to rejoice in life. True, individual people specialize, on behalf of the human race, as it were, in certain attitudes. Italians, for example, specialize in music and song. Some people live more in the mind, others more in the heart. Others, like the natives of Hawaii, live more than most of us in closeness to nature. The costumes we adopt, too, are attempts to affirm special attitudes. This is a Japanese tea ceremony, and this a dancer in Bali. Some people, like this Naga Sadhu or naked holy man in India, make their statement by an absence of clothes. Others by the simplicity of their clothing. Poor people everywhere often dress up elaborately, perhaps to affirm their true wealth as human beings. Thus, these simple Romanian peasants. And thus also this child at a festival in Greece. Costume may be a means of affirming a temporary identity, like this Polish couple with a tour group in Israel. Or it may be the way everyone dresses, as we find here in Egypt. The Tyrolean costume may seem strange to you, but it doesn't seem so to the people of Tyrol. See, too, the different worlds we inhabit in the work we do. This carpenter in Luxor, Egypt. This blacksmith in the little village of Lakhanpur, West Bengal. This grocer in Bucharest. This Mediterranean fisherman. This camel driver in Cairo. And this one in hot pursuit of my business. This Navajo woman weaving a rug in Monument Valley, Arizona. This policeman in Positano, Italy. Work itself means different things to different people. To this Romanian peasant, it seems a more peaceful pastime than to many. To this Hindu astrologer, work means attuning oneself with planetary forces. To these Naga sadhus at a Kumbh Mela or religious fair in India, it means offering one's energies up to God. In diversion, men seek by various means to express their natural hunger for lasting happiness. As in this dance around a maypole at an underworld brotherhood village in California, and in this three-legged race on the same day, men laughing in a restaurant in Rome, boys playing on a beach in Mazatlan, Mexico, myself resting, almost literally so, on the Dead Sea, a man celebrating a local holiday on the Isle of Rhodes. Recreation doesn't seem equally pleasurable for everyone. Often the greatest joy comes from simply talking of higher truths. One way by which man seeks to express, and in the expression to find himself, is through the arts. We find artistic expression in every culture, as in these folk musicians in Romania, and in these Romanian dancers, in these musicians on Montmartre in Paris, in this dancing lesson in Bali, in this famous Balinese sculptor, in this metalworker in Toledo, Spain, in this famous artist, Guido Odierna of Capri, Italy, whose work I love, in this Hawaiian dancer making the hula gesture for a waterfall. Many people's lives are spent not in living, but only in waiting for something to happen. How many people everywhere in the world seem bent on following paths in life that can only lead to a variety of dead ends. What hope seems there for these vendors in Bucharest? And what hope that this woman's skepticism will bring her anything but greater skepticism? This man with his Red Bull's head pipe was strolling back and forth on the piazza in Capri, wanting more to be observed, it seemed, than to observe. And I reflected how many people with this attitude are their own dead ends. Another kind of dead end is the tendency to impose one's views on others, an attitude evident in the posture of this tour guide in Florence, Italy. See in this man's eyes the confusion of strength with inner tension. A roadside vendor in Ploiești, Romania. Bitterness, grief, these attitudes enclose us in their own prisons. People only escape such prisons when they begin to share with others. Feeding the pigeons in the Piazza San Marco, Venice. A group of friends singing together. In a religious vocation, one might think to find the way out of mental prisons of egoism, but such is true only sometimes. Many a church dignitary is so weighed down by the burdens of organization that inner peace eludes him. And many a priest lives more on a level of the mind than of spirit. So also many a rabbi. To be a monk doesn't necessarily spare one from human attitudes of cunning and self-seeking. Western or Oriental, European or Tibetan, Christian or Buddhist, what we gain ultimately depends on what we are in our souls. These Buddhist monks from Thailand came seeking peace of soul at the spot where Buddha found enlightenment. This is a priest in Bali. This jolly soul is a Franciscan monk in Ravello, Italy. This is a Greek Orthodox monk on the Isle of Patmos in Greece. And this is a Benedictine monk in Jerusalem. This old nun in Romania has persevered in her vocation against the great obstacle of a hostile communist regime. This Hindu monk spent more than 40 years in a Himalayan cave, praying and meditating. I found his inner joy contagious. In every case, what matters is not one's outward garb, labor, or vocation, but one's inner state of mind. See the radiant peace in this simple sadhu at the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad. And this woman saint, Anandamoyi Ma, widely reputed in India. In every case, what matters is not our outward path or position in life, but our inner attitude, an attitude, for example, of worship. Above all, what we see is that people with an inner life, a life of the Spirit, have found what Jesus promised when he said, "I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly." Is not this what all men in their heart of hearts are seeking? All of the people from here on are committed to a life of inner communion and prayer. It seems only right, having shown you myself at the outset of this show in my bath as a baby, that I end with a slightly more recent photograph, a signature, so to speak, to all the slides you've seen.